Okay, so what if the biggest mistake most of us make with money has nothing to do with how hard we work or how ambitious we are, but with the simple fact that we're playing the wrong game? You see, there are two financial games being played at all times. There's one for workers, and there's a completely different one for owners. And if you don't know the rules to both, well, you're pretty much playing with one hand tied behind your back.
I mean, it's a feeling so many of us can relate to, right? You work your tail off, you're responsible, you try to save, but that feeling of actually getting ahead, of real financial momentum, it just always seems out of reach. It can feel like the whole system is rigged. One set of rules for you and another for everyone else. So today, let's crack this thing wide open and see how it really works. And, more importantly, how you can start to make it work for you. And boom, here it is. This table lays out the two financial worlds perfectly. On the left, you've got what we'll call worker income. This comes from your labor, your time. It's totally linear. You trade 1 hour for a certain amount of cash. It gets taxed immediately right off the top, and you have almost zero control. Now look at the right, owner income. This stuff flows from assets and systems. It's leveraged, which means it can grow way beyond your direct effort. And here's the kicker. Taxes are often paid later. This gives you huge control. These aren't just little tweaks. They are the bedrock of two totally different ways of building wealth. All right, so let's start by digging into the game most of us know inside and out, the workers' game. This is where we're going to see why just working harder and harder often feels like running on a treadmill. I love this quote because it just makes so much sense. Think about it. Your paycheck, that money you earn, that's the fruit. It's good, you need it to live, but it's a one-and-done deal. An asset, though, that's the tree itself. It can keep producing fruit year after year, with or without you. The real strategy of the wealthy isn't about collecting the most fruit, it's about owning the entire orchard. Now, this slide is so important because this sequence is going to feel painfully familiar. Step 1, you earn your paycheck. But look what happens next. Before you even get to touch the full amount, the government withholds taxes. The system always pays itself first. Then you pay your mortgage, your car payment, your bills. And only at the very, very end, with whatever is left over, if anything is, do you get to save or invest. You're building your future with the scraps. And let's be really clear here. This isn't a knock on hard work. Of course not. Effort is absolutely essential. But your effort inside a system that has no leverage has a hard ceiling. You can work 10% harder and, maybe make 10% more, but you can't work 1,000 times harder. So the problem isn't that people are lazy or undisciplined. It's that they're trapped in a game that's designed to scale badly. So that brings us to the other game, the owner's flywheel. And this is where things get really fun. This is where we see how thinking like an owner and using leverage and structure creates completely different outcomes, often with the same amount of effort. So what is this magic ingredient that changes everything? It's leverage. The simplest way to think about it is as a force multiplier. Instead of just relying on your own two hands and the hours in your day, you use other things to get the job done. Capital, software that runs 24/7, media that reaches thousands while you sleep, or a team that executes a vision. It's about getting results that are way, way bigger than your individual input. Okay, now look at this. Seriously, look at it. When you put this side by side with the worker's cash flow, it's not just different, it's basically flipped upside down. This is the big aha moment. First, an asset makes money. Then the owner gets to decide what to do with it, reinvest, spend, whatever. They control when and if they sell something and create a taxable event. And because of that, they pay taxes on their terms much, much later. The power has completely shifted from the system back to the individual. And this is exactly why that control is a financial superpower. When your money can grow and compound year after year without getting a slice taken out for taxes, it's like having an interest-free loan from the government that's supercharging your investments. Over a few decades, that advantage alone creates a gap in wealth that is almost impossible to close. And this right here, this is the whole point. The entire conversation for most people is about how to get a raise, how to earn a bigger salary. But the real game changer isn't just earning more. It's changing the structure of how you earn. It's moving from 100% labor-based income to owning things. Because in the long run, structure will beat raw effort every single time. Okay, so the immediate thought here is probably something like, great, I get it. I need to be an owner, so I have to go invent the next Facebook, right? No, absolutely not. In fact, let's talk about some of the most powerful and honestly, the most overlooked ways to become an owner. Our culture is just obsessed with the glamorous, sexy startup that's going to change the world. But this quote is pure gold. Think about a so-called boring business, a local laundromat, a window washing service, a small moving company. These businesses are built on real needs, and they often spit out cash flow from day one. They force you to focus on what actually makes money, not just what sounds impressive at a party. In this table just drives the point home. The sexy startup is all about hype and getting a crazy valuation. The boring business, it's about cash flow and control. The startup has a long, risky, uncertain path to ever making a profit. The boring business is often profitable right away. But here's the most important line on this whole chart. A startup serves its investors and the pressure to grow. A boring business serves its owner. It creates real freedom. This is a path to ownership that is practically invisible to most people. Instead of building something from scratch, you can just buy a business that's already working. It already has customers, it already has revenue, it already has systems in place, but it's just not taught in school. It's not on the menu of options we're given, so it requires a little bit of imagination to even see that it's possible. So, getting your hands on an asset is one part of the puzzle, but keeping that wealth and growing it for decades, maybe even for generations, well, that's a whole different ballgame. And this part has less to do with spreadsheets and a lot more to do with what's going on between your ears. This is such a powerful idea. We always think wealth is lost because of a bad investment or a stock market crash, but way more often, it's destroyed by human behavior, by things like impatience, ego, jealousy, and that burning need to show off how rich you are. The psychology of how you manage wealth is so much more important than the technical mechanics of it. So what does that winning psychology actually look like? Well, it looks like these habits right here. It's having a culture of stewardship, seeing wealth as something you manage wisely for the future, not just an entitlement you get to spend. It's about normalizing discipline instead of displaying status. It's about grounding every single decision you make in patience and humility. These are the behaviors that protect and grow fortunes for the long haul. So look, if there is one single thing you take away from all of this, let it be this simple but powerful shift in perspective. The most important question you can ask for your financial future isn't just how can I get a bigger paycheck? The real question is, how can I start to own more? How can I own a piece of a business, an asset, a piece of the system? And that's really the question to leave you with. With every hour you put in, with every dollar you save or spend, which of these two things are you really building? Are you building this week's paycheck? Or are you building an asset for the future? Because the moment you consciously decide to start building assets, that might just be the moment your real journey to financial freedom actually begins.